Good day, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to our special industry webinar today, Visas for International and Domestic Business Events in Canada. I'm Laura Pallotta, and I am the chairperson of Meetings Mean Business Canada. This webinar is being held in conjunction with Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or otherwise known as IRCC. MMBC is very pleased to partner with TIAC to host this webinar, along with our partner, the Canadian Association of Exposition Management. We're also grateful for the support from Destination Canada, Convention Centres of Canada, and Destinations International. Meetings Mean Business, along with our partners, are fully committed to ensuring that our stakeholders can maintain and grow their business events revenues in Canada. We are fortunate that there is currently strong demand for business events for this and next year, and we want to ensure that delegates can attend business events, experience all the wonderful attributes that Canada has to offer, and plan to return again in future years. At the same time, we want to ensure that we have in fact, achieved our business events revenues we have forecasted for this year and set our business up effectively for future years. This webinar today will touch on important messages about bidding, a better understanding about registering events, and the current visa application process, including how you can manage delegates that are arriving even within 6 months. We will also cover working with Canadian Border Services and welcoming delegates to Canada. The organizers will also provide handy links for further actions as a follow-up to this webinar, and you will see that noted at the end. We will be sure also to leave time for Q&A towards the end of the webinar. Please note that the presenters cannot provide case-specific information on this webinar, so if you need more information on a specific matter that you are currently managing, we will provide you once again with a link to help you manage that. We have, I will say, incredible attendance on this call. We will do our best to get to as many questions as possible, but if we cannot get to your question, as I mentioned, we will be sure to include all of the links for you to resource. And now for our presenters. Please welcome Melanie Mercier, Director, Social Affairs and Strategic Initiatives, IRCC, and Isabelle Corbin, Assistant Director, Special Events, IRCC. I'm also joined on this webinar by my colleagues, Minto Schneider, Vice Chair of Meetings Mean Business Canada, and Jennifer Allaby, Executive Director, Canadian Association of Exposition Management. Jennifer is also a member of the executive of the Meetings Mean Business Board of Directors. So welcome all ladies. Thank you sincerely for your time today. I will turn the webinar over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. As mentioned, I'm Melanie Mercier. I work in IRCC. I've been a public servant for many, many years, and hopefully the information that we'll be providing you today will help you host fruitful conferences and events, specifically as it has to do with the immigration process for your participants who come from overseas. So today we will speak mostly in English. However, feel free to ask questions in the official language of your choice at the end. Both Isabelle and I are fully bilingual. It'll be a pleasure to answer in the language of your choice. So first, I think it's important for us, from IRCC, to provide you a little bit of background of everything that has happened in the past few years and led us to where we are today. So during the pandemic, our processing times increased in most of our programs due to the effect of COVID on our department, applicants, and partner. So although the travel restrictions were in place, clients were still able to apply. And at that time, most of the applications were still paper-based. And because of public health restriction, only a few employees at a time could access our offices. This created significant inventories. the department focused on processing efforts on clients that were able to travel. Some categories actually could travel even during the pandemic, and those that were already in Canada where they didn't need to cross a border and we could do this remotely. IRCC also developed tools and mandated clients to apply electronically, this enabling us to further do virtual work sharing throughout our network. So as part of the post-pandemic recovery, we've implemented various initiatives to reduce the application backlog in all our lines of businesses, with a focus on addressing labor shortages, improving our client experience, as well as reuniting families. It included hiring additional employees throughout 2022, mainly, aided by 85 million in funding for our backlog reduction. Now, as you may be aware, some factors have prolonged our recovery plan. First, the unprecedented interest in Canada from applicants from all over the world. For example, our study permit intake is 45% higher in 2022 than it was in 2019. And this is even crazier for work permits, where we're at 145% higher in 2022 than in 2019. So that's very impressive percentages. Also, another thing to take into account is the growing number of humanitarian crises and displaced people, and the complexity and urgency of our response it continues to be a challenge. In the summer of 2021, some of you may remember the Afghan crises, where Canada committed to resettling 40,000 Afghans. That's an IRCC commitment. It uses our resources, right? Also, more closer in 2022, the Russian war on Ukraine, where we have to this day received over 1 million applications, and these are all temporary resident application received under the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel, when originally we had forecasted 300,000. You may wonder, did the Public Service Alliance of Canada strike damage our progress? It's a very fair question. We knew the strike was a strong possibility, so the department put in place a pre- and post-strike plan to address the potential impacts. So I can confirm today that the impacts were minimal because we had planned before, and we've now fully addressed the impact that were done afterwards. And we continue to be on track with our recovery plan overall. So with the reopening of our borders and the borders worldwide in the spring of 2022, we continue to focus on key services, adjusting our plans to address our inventories and addressing existing and new priorities of the Government of Canada. If you watch the news, we get those almost every day. If anything, I think that the pandemic has demonstrated just how critical immigration is to Canada. Our ability to welcome people from around the world contributes and will continue to contribute greatly to our economy, society, culture, as well as our place in the world. And we know here at IRCC that the work that you do to promote Canada as a top destination for events and conferences directly contributes to Canada's economy, society, culture, and Canada's place in the world. So we thank you for that, and we acknowledge your contribution in this space. And this is it's the reason we're here today, but it's also part of the reason why we modified the special event registration period from 3 months to 6 months last fall. We know the importance of ensuring that a maximum of visa application for events are processed and that participants receive their travel document in time for the event. And at that time, there's just too much to do and not enough time, no matter what we tried to do. So this has help you ensure success. So we've made significant strides these past few months with regards to service standards, as well as processing times, and making internal changes in how we work with our networks and streamline the special event files. We are hopeful that we will soon be in a position to lower the number of months required ahead of an event and conference to register with IRCC. Our website will be updated as soon as we're operationally confident that we can deliver the services faster. There's no point in us lowering the number of months if we're going to fail, and that's not what you want, and that's not what we want. However, on a good foot or a good news, the inventory of temporary residents, which are include visitors that come for events, the application inventory has decreased to 1,080,000 from over 1,714,000 last summer. And now we are meeting more or less service standard in 62%, where last summer we were at 30%. So we're making progress. We're doing what we need to do to get where we need to go. I hope this gives you a good sense of why we're here today and where we're going. And now I'm going to turn to Isabelle to provide you with the nuts and bolts of what we do in the special events unit and the part that you and the organizers play to ensure a successful event conference from an immigration perspective. Un grand merci.
Hi, everybody. I'm Isabelle Corbin, and as previously stated, I'm the Assistant Director for the Special Events Unit here at IRCC. So to start off, I thought I would give you a bit of an overview of what the Special Events Unit does, what it doesn't do, the registration process, the application process, and some trends that we've noticed recently. So the first thing that we'll talk about is, what does the Special Event Unit do? So the Special Event Unit acts as a single point of contact between IRCC and the organizers. And we are here to provide information on visa requirements, visa and entry requirements to Canada for participants of international events who are from visa required countries. We also help support with the development of visa-related communications with event participants, whether it be information regarding visa application process or visa invitation letters. We help coordinate the processing of applications from participants of international events. So we notify our networks of events and help coordinate the processing of these applications in line with the event start date. We also, upon request, provide aggregate data to the organizers of the event on the number of applications that IRCC has received, as well as their status. Some things that the special event do not do. Registering an event does not prioritize or waive requirements for event participants. It doesn't expedite processing of application, and participants are still required to meet all eligibility and admissibility requirements. The Special Events Unit is not able to influence, overturn refusals, or guarantee entry of any participants. We also do not communicate directly with participants. Our point of contact is with you, the organizer, and the department processing networks. We are also, because due to privacy reasons, we're also not able to provide any type of case-specific information on applications. So now I'll turn it over to the registration process. The first step to registering an event with IRCC is to complete and submit the notice of international event or meeting. The first thing that you will do is submit that to IRCC. And at that point, the Special Events Unit will conduct an assessment of the event to ensure that the event is legitimate and that it meets all our criteria. Once the team has vetted, we will request a sample letter of invitation and issue the registration confirmation. You'll then be able to submit your invitation letter, and we will issue you a special event code. So the special event code allows us to identify applications from participants in order to ensure their coordinated processing. The next step as an organizer that is really important is for you to encourage application by your participants of visa required countries, and to also provide application numbers to the special event unit. Providing up-to-date lists of participants' names and visa application numbers are important to provide registration to be able to allow us to coordinate the processing of applications. The other piece that's really important is for organizers to provide us with lists of VIPs. So these are clients or participants that are essential to the success of the event, such as keynote speakers, presenters, or whatnot. We always encourage organizers to contact our special events unit in case they have any information or any questions regarding the processing of the applications. Again, keeping in mind that application-specific information cannot be shared. We have, as you can imagine, hundreds of events that are registered with IRCC every year. We realize that some organizers only want event codes and then we never hear from them again, while other organizers take advantage of the support that we provide. If you need support, or if you're made aware of any issues with participants are having with their visa applications, it's very important that you communicate these to us as soon as possible. As previously indicated, while we can't overturn negative decisions, nor can we influence an officer's decision, we're happy to share any pertinent information in support of a participant's application. So once the event has been registered with IRCC, the application process begins. Once the participant has registered with your event, you will provide them with the instructions to apply with the special event code with IRCC. Once the participant has submitted their application to IRCC, they will need to submit biometrics if required. So biometrics have been a requirement for approximately 6 to 7 years now. And biometrics that are enrolled for temporary resident visa purposes are valid for 10 years. If a participant has not yet enrolled their biometrics, they will receive a biometric information letter after they submit their application. Now, biometrics consist of taking a photo as well as recording their fingerprints. Therefore, they must be done in person. Biometrics enrollment can be done at any visa application center around the world. We have our VAC networks consists of approximately 167 locations in 112 countries. That said, it is impossible to have a VAC in every country in every city. So some clients may need to travel in order to submit their biometrics. It's important to note as well that processing of applications will not begin unless biometrics are registered. So once the biometrics are registered, an officer will review the application. If the application is approved, the clients will be requested to submit their passport for the physical affixation of their visa in their passport. It's important to note that participants cannot board a plane without their visa. Visas cannot be issued at the airport, nor can they be issued at the port of entry once they arrive in Canada. Again, our vast network of visa application centers, or VACs, will receive the passport, transmit them to the closest embassy for visa issuance, and it will then be returned to the participant in order for them to begin their travels. So all that to say that these processes do take time, and therefore it is extremely important that participants apply as soon as possible in order to get their visas in time for the events. VACs also offer courier services, and this helps to ensure that passport transmission is tracked. We understand that some clients are often hesitant to be away from their passports. They may be concerned that passports may be lost in transit. While anything is possible, certainly, this is not something that we are aware of or anything that happens on frequent basis. For example, we had the COP15 and where we approved over 3,000 visas, and we are not aware of any these passports being lost during transmission. And wanted to talk also about things that can go wrong. So late registrations. This usually means that clients either are late in registering their participation with the event, or they're late in submitting their visa application to IRCC. That is probably the best piece of advice that we can give, is encourage registration to the event as soon as possible and encourage visa application as soon as possible. Another thing that hinders the processing and the coordination of visa application is when clients do not apply with the special event code that we provide. It is extremely important that participants follow the instructions that we provide organizers in order to ensure that we're able to identify the applications in our vast inventory of temporary resident visa applications. Another issue that we sometimes encounter are with participants who do not monitor or respond to IRCC requests for biometric enrollments and passport submission requests. Extremely important that participants respond to those ASAP in order to ensure that passports and visas are issued in time for the event. The other trend that we do notice is also with participants solely relying on the visa invitation letter to substantiate their purpose of travel, their proof of funds, and their intent to return their stay. While the visa application or the visa assistance letter that organizers provide participants in support of their visa application is very important, there are other factors that need to be considered, and it's important that applicants provide all the information that is requested by IRCC in order to substantiate their purpose of travel. I also wanted to share with you some trends that we've also noticed lately. One of the trends that has been going on for a few months now is the fraudulent alteration of invitation letters. Organizers provide visa assistance letters to participants to submit with their application. However, these letters sometimes get into the wrong hands. Alterations are done to the letter to reflect some other person's information, and that person then uses that letter to apply for a temporary resident visa. However, they are not registered participants to the event. Given the technology these days, these alterations are very, very well done and are very difficult to identify. That is why, as an organizer, it is extremely important that you provide IRCC with a list of registered participants to your event. While officers will review the letter that is provided with the application, they will also refer to the list that organizers provide to confirm participant registration. Another trend that we've noticed are credit card chargebacks. It appears that some participants may be registering, but they are registering and paying the registration fees with either stolen credit cards or somebody else's credit card information. Once they are registered, they usually obtain the letter and invitation, as well as the special event code that is used to apply for the temporary resident visa. And once the rightful owner of the credit card sees the charge on their card, they put in a claim with their credit card company, and the credit card company then charges back the event organizer for the registration, meaning that the registration is now canceled. However, the person who has applied with that credit card may have already received a temporary resident visa, or at least have applied for their visa application. Therefore, it is extremely important, once again, that organizers stay in contact with us and let us know of any type of chargebacks that they do see, or any type of trends that they see in their registrations. So I will leave it at that. I hope that this provided you with a good overview, and I will turn it back. I'm sure that there are probably some questions, burning questions from the group.
Thanks very much, Isabel and Melanie. You are indeed correct. We do have some questions that I'll just get through here. And also, I just want to let you know that you've also received some very positive feedback in terms of great improvement over the last few years, as you know, despite a lot of challenges that everybody's had to manage. So we thank you for that. First question, previously event organizers were to collect passport numbers before issuing an international invitation letter to a potential attendee. Now it sounds like we want organizers to collect application numbers after our potential attendees have applied for temporary resident via or electronic travel authorization, and they receive that number. Is that actually correct?
Yes, we would encourage that organizers collect application numbers. The electronic travel authorizations, or ETAs, are not as important. The special events unit supports those from visa required countries. That said, if a participant is having trouble with receiving their ETAs, organizers are certainly welcome to contact us and we can try to troubleshoot the issue. Now, in terms of passport numbers versus application numbers, we found that participants may originally apply with one passport. Either their passport gets lost or it expires and they end up having to use a different passport. The visa application number is the best way for us to be able to identify the applications and ensure their coordinated processing.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Another question. Are there some countries that necessitate a longer period for visa approval?
No. That said, so there are not some countries that are that necessitate longer processing times for visa approvals or any type of decision. That said, processing times may vary throughout the world. Some countries are a little bit longer than others. As Melanie mentioned, we put a lot of focus in place in order to be able to reduce our inventories and trying to get them back to a similar standard throughout the world.
Okay. Question, can we share the special event unit's contact with event organizers, or should we be using that internally only?
So the special events unit does coordinate, and we are the central point of contact with event organizers. So basically whoever registers the event, and the one that will be taking care of registration, invitation letters, all those types of things for participants, are basically the point of contact that should be registering with event organizers. Contact information for special events is available on our external website for anybody to use. The people that we are not able to support are the individual participants to an event. However, yes, event organizers are more than welcome to contact us. Okay,
great. Thank you. Is registering an event on our end with IRCC mandatory compliance or more of a beneficial resource for us? And also, if a conference is annual, do we need to resubmit every year?
So the registration of an event with IRCC is 100% voluntary. It is a benefit to organizers in order to help coordinate the processing of applications from participants of their event, and to also obtain the support that they may need to prepare for their event communications with participants and whatnot. But it is 100% voluntary. I also want to make a point that special event codes and registration are not necessary to have a successful event. The same applies, encouraging participants to register and to apply to IRCC is the best advice, whether the event is not registered or not with IRCC. Sorry, what was the second part of that again, Laura?
If the event is an annual event, do they need to resubmit annually?
Yes, the event does need to be registered for each and every event that does occur. Things can change, the venue can change, the number of participants, the participants themselves. So for each and every event, a new registration request should be submitted.
Okay, great. How long does the assessment take once the event has been registered?
So I would like to say 10 days, 10 business days. We are currently, we do have a great amount of registrations requests right now. So we are a little bit behind. We're working hard on getting back on track and clearing that inventory and providing answers as soon as possible, responses. But in normal times, we do try to respond within 10 business days.
Okay, very good. Would an application number be an event registration confirmation number that would appear on their invoice from us?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Would an application number be an event registration confirmation
number that would appear on their invoice from us? We can hold
so,
on that one.
Yeah, in terms of the application number that I am referring to is the application number when a participant applies to IRCC. It's their temporary resident visa application number. Those numbers usually start with the letter V as in Victor and followed by 9 numbers.
Okay, great. Okay, here's one. If we are hosting a trade show that attendees have to pay to attend, but they are not working, how should we be answering this question on the event registration form? i.e., will foreign nationals be engaged as unpaid workers during this event?
So in that instance, Maya, if I understand the question correctly, would be that they're basically participating as attendees. They're attending the event. Therefore, I would not consider them as unpaid workers. I would just consider them as visitors participating in the event.
Okay, great. Just a reminder, someone has mentioned they've never submitted an application for an event. So where can they find that application? Are we going to put that up at the end?
The registration the notification to register an event with IRCC?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Yes, we will provide that information. It's on our external IRCC website with the special events, but we'll certainly provide the link to that web page, which has the link for the form.
Okay, great. And I think I see, yep, Jennifer Allaby's put that into the chat.
Thank you.
Do applicants require proof of registration, proof of paid registration, and hotel accommodation to support their application?
Applicants can apply whether or not they register. Anybody can submit an application for a temporary resident visa. Now, when assessing the purpose of travel for issuing a visa, obviously the proof that they are registered to an event would be very helpful in supporting their purpose of travel. In terms of the proof of registration, the proof of paid registration, usually that is provided by the organizer who has received the registration by form of the visa assistance letter that is issued once the registration is complete. The client should be submitting that with their application. In terms of hotel accommodations, that really is up to the applicant to decide how much information or what information they can provide. We understand that it's a little bit of, the chicken and the egg. Some clients don't want to make a hotel reservation or a flight reservation before they're able to obtain a visa. It really is up to the client to determine what they are most comfortable with, but the more information that they can provide in terms of proof of registration and their intent to travel, their purpose of travel, is always helpful for the officer.
This question's come up a few times in the chat. If it's voluntary to work with IRCC, what are the benefits of working, and is there a cost? If you could just reiterate that.
Certainly. So there is no cost to register with IRCC. The benefit is that we are able to, I guess the biggest benefit to event organizers and participants is the issuance of a special event codes for participants to use when they're applying. That special event code allows us to identify applications for participants of a specific event. And while applications will not be prioritized, no requirements are exempt or anything like that, IRCC will try to coordinate the processing of those applications, provided that they are submitted far enough in advance and not at the last minute, in order to issue and finalize processing of these applications in line with the event start date. And as previously mentioned, we also offer support in developing and vetting communications information that is sent to event participants on how to apply and what to do and when.
Great, thank you. Can letters of invitation be issued before a delegate registers? In other words, how can we vet legitimate requests?
So I assume that we're talking about the delegate registering with the event organizer. There's a bit of a difference between, we invite you to participate to this event. In order to do so, please register. That letter, yes, of course, it can be issued to the participant. That is not what is going to be, that is not what supports the registration of the participant to the event. So that's not what we would recommend for the participant to submit with their application. What they should be submitting with their application is the proof of their registration. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that answers
now,
the question.
in terms of, and in terms of vetting as the organizer, because we do understand that, sometimes there are some events, you get participants that are registering and it doesn't really jive, right? So their purpose, their background, where they're located, doesn't really connect with the event's purpose. That really is up to the organizer to decide whether or not they wish to register the requester.
Okay, great, thank you. So just in terms of registering an event, how far in advance should we be registering our event with IRCC? Or in other words, how early can we register an event if we hold it annually?
So right now, as Melanie mentioned, we are currently registering events at a minimum 6 months in advance of the event start date. So if your event starts in September, it needs to be registered at least 6 months prior to September. We are currently registering events that are occurring in 2024, very large events such as, for example, the FIFA World Cup occurring in 2026. We are already in the works with the organizers, working in trying to do that. Now, that being said, an event can be registered anytime ahead of time. However, if you do choose to register, say, an event that is occurring in 2025, we can certainly register it. We would highly recommend that you communicate back with us 6 months ahead of the event, and then we can start working on the logistics and the communications and everything with participants.
Great.
I
now,
would also,
oh,
sorry,
go
Laura,
ahead.
I would also add something that Isabelle mentioned earlier, we do vet events, meaning that we will go online, we will do our research and ensure that it's a true event, that there's a location, that it has been announced, that there's a website. So if you register too far in advance, that information may not be available. So you want to make sure that your location is secured and that you have information available so that we in IRCC can do our due diligence and ensure that you're a valid organizer and that your event will go forward.
Great. So conversely, if the event we want to register for is less than 6 months away, will the application automatically be denied, or should we try anyway and hope for the best?
I assume that we're speaking about application here. We're referring to the application to register the event with IRCC.
Correct.
At this point in time, yes, the requirement is 6 months. If you submit your request to register after 6 months, it will not be registered.
Understood. Okay, great. Thank you.
That said, we are looking at reducing that 6 month time frame.
Right.
And we encourage organizers to monitor our website, which is our webpage, in order to see when that reduction registration time occurs.
And I would add,
go ahead,
Isabelle will kick me under the virtual table. Thank God she's far away. But if you're organizing something for, let's say, the end of September, you're in a bind and you're looking just for a little bit of, okay, so what should I include on my letter? We can help you with that. We won't register you because we won't do the whole gamut. But if you're looking for a little bit of insight as what should be on the letter to ensure that my participants apply properly to IRCC, we can certainly do that.
So on that note, what information does the IRCC need to have in our letter of invitation to the attendee applying for a visa?
So we do have sample letters of invitation that we share with organizers. That's actually on our website as well. And it provides the information that should be included with on the visa invitation letter.
Okay, great. And we'll have that at the end, of course. This is coming from a local Convention Visitor Bureau question. Often international event organizers ask us who the participants should indicate as their local contact in the destination in their TRV application. Should it be the CVB? Should it be the convention center or someone else?
In that case, I would most likely recommend that they indicate the inviter, right? So on the letter of invitation is usually signed by somebody. That's who they should be putting on their application.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we have just a couple more. Is an international exhibitor in a trade show booth considered as a worker? And if so, do they require a working visa?
Melanie, I'm going to say no, but I will let you confirm.
Laura, we'll take that one back and we can confirm in writing. Yeah. I don't want to say yay and then get in trouble or nay and then get in trouble. We're really specific in the TRV process. If they need a work permit, I need to double check with my work permit specialists. Thank you.
I appreciate that. No, that's great. Two more questions. What information should be collected from a participant to include in an invitation letter? i.e., do we need their passport number and date of birth?
It is recommended that their passport number, their date of birth be included. Whatever you choose to include in the letter of invitation is solely up to the organizer. We also understand that some organizers don't want to collect that information. Some clients don't want to provide that information, and we respect that.
Okay. Great. Okay, I think we've got our last question. Once you register your event, how often must the organizer submit the participant list, i.e. weekly, monthly, or different from that?
I would recommend that whenever there is an update to the list, that it be provided to IRCC as soon as possible. So whether it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, we can take it and we will share it with our processing network so that our officers can refer to the list when they're processing applications.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you very much. Those were great questions. We appreciate the audience participation, and I'm hoping that we've answered a lot of questions. Jennifer is going to put up a list of resources at the end of this call, and we'll make sure we send that out as well to those that registered. I just want to say thank you to both of you for your candid insights and your information about the entire process. On behalf of the entire industry, we really thank you for your time today. Also, thank you to our partners, the Tourism Industry Association of Canada, the Canadian Association of Exposition Management, Destination Canada, and Convention Centers of Canada, and Destinations International. As we mentioned, Jennifer's put up some more resources in the chat, as well as the links that you'll see noted here. So if you have any further questions, by all means, please use those resources to get to these good folks. But after that, I'll just say wishing you all a very wonderful rest of the week and a safe and happy summer. And more than anything, of course, productive business events now and into the future. So thank you for your time today, all of you.
Thank you.
Bonne fin de journée.
Have a good day.